Committed to bringing you up-to-date information and news in international and local maritime trade, this is Nimasa This Week. My name is Rachel Doyle and you are welcome. Now, the role of maritime surveyors under the current management of Nimasa appears to be increasingly pivotal to the agency's commitment to achieving the objectives of her mandate. To this end, the agency recently recruited a large number of maritime surveyors to join the existing crew at Nimasa. As a result of this, the Maritime Safety and Seafarer Standards Department of Nimasa has made the training and retraining of maritime surveyors a top priority. To this end, a workshop was recently held for them in collaboration with the American Bureau of Shipping. Our field reporter Amanda Akpan was there, and here's her report.
The Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency Nimasa has again demonstrated its commitment to enhance the competence of the agency's operation in the performance of its port and flag state duties. Recently, the Maritime Safety and Seafarer Standard Department put together a 5-day training program for the agency's ship surveyors. The training kicked off on the 15th of July and ended on the 19th of July 2013 at the Eco Hotel and Suites in Lagos. The 5 days training program was under the auspices of the American Bureau of Shipping, ABS, a renowned classification society. Mr. Colin Stewart Brookman, a resource person from ABS, was the facilitator. His presentations laid emphasis on port state inspection, and he gave a background to various memoranda of understanding that govern maritime practices in different maritime jurisdictions around the world.
For instance, the Paris MOU covers the EU, Europe now, so they collect information because at the end of the day they are concerned with protecting their own ports. Originally, port state control came about because it was decided that there were too many substandard vessels, and it was felt that class possibly wasn't doing the job it was supposed to do. So they set up all these memorandums of understanding with their own surveyors to effectively go and check on the work of class, which is what it is.
Mr. Brookman also spoke about the clear grounds upon which vessels could be detained during port state inspections.
Well, to be able to detain a vessel, it has to be I think we went through it, was a major deficiencies. A major deficiency for detention, for example, emergency fire pump doesn't work, firefighting systems out of date. Things which have obviously gone on. Remember we spoke about a number, maybe 15 minor infringements, which in their own right, each one probably is not serious, but in that case you would then say it is apparent that the safety management system on board has broken down, it's not working, so that's a major.
At the end of the training program, the Executive Director Maritime Safety and Shipping Development moved a vote of thanks on behalf of the agency. He thanked the team from ABS for the vital information given in the course of the training program and went ahead to present certificates and plaque to the resource person from ABS in appreciation. Captain Agaba also seized the opportunity to address the newly employed surveyors of the agency. He urged them to take what they have learned from the training program and put them into effective use during the course of doing their jobs.
We need to improve on the number and the quality of our services. After this training, I'll be surprised if when you go to all these IOCs and you go and give certificates for a vessel that is 500 gross tonnage, and you go and give it to a vessel that is 5,000 tons. First, the most important, if you get on board a vessel and you see a certificate that is not supposed to be on board, you should know that something has gone wrong. Either the person who issued the certificate does not even know what he was doing, or he didn't get to the vessel at all. So that must stop. So that whenever they see a Nimasa authenticated certificate, they trust these people have done a very good job. So this is an opportunity for us to use what we learned today. It is not going to be a one-off business. Maybe after a while, maybe in the early next year, we'll do another one.
The head of Department Maritime Safety and Seafarer Standard, Engineer Vincent Udoyi, spoke to us on the reasons for putting the training together.
Recently, Nimasa employed so many new surveyors, about 47 of them. So we didn't just want to send them out to the ships. The agency preferred to give them some training before sending them out to the ship. And that is what we've been having. The surveyors have been trained by a very reputable classification society called American Bureau of Shipping, ABS. They have close to 150 years experience in ship certification and ship inspection.
Some of the trainee surveyors also spoke to us about what they think on the just concluded training program.
This training that we have just finished today has added more knowledge to what we've known before. There's no training that is a terminal point for all surveyors, because you see new resolutions, new amendments to the conventions, that's our Bible that we use. All surveyors are supposed to have the conventions as our Bible, and these conventions are not static documents. They keep improving. As to go for IMO sessions every year, you have more resolutions that are giving extra tasks to the surveyors. So this type of training, where you have them, that's where we are exposed to new developments according to IMO.
The training we've just had, it's a very welcome development, in the sense that as surveyors, you need to update your knowledge regularly. And then more so too, the interactions with colleagues, because it is a forum where you not only interact with the instructors, you also interact with your colleagues. They could also bring their experiences, discuss their experiences, and you learn one or two things from the experiences they have.
At the end of the training, Nimasa this week caught up with a training consultant to ABS and asked him for his impression of the participants.
It was an extremely interesting 5 days. The level of questions and the complexity of some of the questions were quite extraordinary, actually, and there were a number of questions which I will probably have to go back and read up on. But all in all, I believe that there is a good bunch of people here. Nimasa has got a good bunch of people, and it bodes well for the future for port state and flag state inspections.
Up next is a new segment of Nimasa This Week.
The executive management and staff of Nimasa at the agency's headquarters at Apapa in Lagos surprised the Director General Ziakede Patrick Apobulukemi when they organized an informal breakfast celebration of his birthday recently. The DG was ushered into the boardroom of the agency, and staff were on hand to sing the birthday song to the surprised Director General. A giant birthday card signed by all present was presented to him. The Director General then responded to the goodwill messages by pledging to improve the welfare of the agency's staff, even as he expressed his appreciation for the expression of open affection towards him by the management and staff.
My life here has been a wonderful partnership with the staff and the directors of this agency. They have brought meaning to why I am here, and I think by the grace of God, we're going to deepen the relationship. The friendship is going to be consolidated so that as we march towards sustaining what has been achieved and the areas that we are yet to conquer, we'll all work in harmony, in love, in unity. Staff welfare is a thing that must be taken seriously. We've done some little efforts, but we'll improve on that so that staff will be productive towards the aspirations, the goals of the agency.
Later on, they cut the traditional birthday cake.
The Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency Nimasa will be holding a one-day seminar on the subject Dock Labor, Decent Work on Tuesday, 6th August from 9 a.m. at the Rockview Hotel. Papers to be presented include Decent Work Agenda of the ILO, Occupational Safety and Health, and the Pension Reform Act 2004 to be presented by Otumba Kunle Folari, Dr. O.C. Nathaniel, as well as Malam M.K. Umar respectively. Session chairmen include Barrister Boniface Igwe, Barrister Edozie Eziaso, and Alhaji Ibrahim Umar. The chief host of the seminar is the Honorable Minister of Transport, Senator Idris Umar, with the Director General of NIMASA, Mr. Ziakede Patrick Akpobolokemi, serving as host. All relevant stakeholders are cordially invited.
Continuing the NIMASA initiative of distributing safety materials to coastal and riverine communities in some states of the Federation, a three-person team were dispatched from the Lagos headquarters of the agency to a number of states. The team was led by Mrs. Helen Nwauma of the Procurement Department. They visited two riverine communities in a number of states to distribute life vests and jackets to boat operators plying the local waterways. The team's first port of call was a Dekwa community, where they distributed the safety materials to leadership of the boat operators at the riverfront. From there, they went on to Agbakuba community, where they also distributed life jackets and vests to the boat operators in that area. The safety materials distribution exercise by NIMASA is a corporate social responsibility initiative by the management of the agency.
As part of our mandate to continually update you on issues within the maritime industry, here are some of the highlights of the guidelines on the implementation of the Coastal and Inland Shipping Act, otherwise known as the Cabotage Act 2003, revised in 2007. Cabotage vessels are identified under the following types under the Act. 1. Passenger vessels. 2. Crew boats. 3. Bunkering vessels. 4. Fishing trawlers. 5. Barges. 6. Offshore service vessels. 7. Tugs. 8. Anchor handling tugs and supply vessels. 9. Floating petroleum storage vessels. 10. Tankers. 11. Carriers. 12. Any other craft or vessels for carriage on, through, or under Nigerian waters of persons, property, or any substance whatsoever. Cabotage cargo means cargo and passengers originating from one port or point in Nigeria to another within Nigeria. The emphasis is on the loading port or point and the port of discharge and destination of the cargo and passengers. It includes cargo and passengers carried on, through, or under Nigerian waters to any place in Nigeria. Cargo originating from Nigeria destined for Nigerian ports and markets but carried via ports outside Nigeria. Cargo carried from one point in Nigeria to another, whether or not of commercial value. Non-cabotage cargo includes cargo originating outside Nigeria and destined for Nigerian ports, such as international cargo, provided there is no discharge midstream or at a port, jetty, or terminal within Nigeria, and cargo originating from Nigeria but destined for ports outside Nigeria. The operation of the Cabotage Act shall apply to the following areas: 1. Nigerian inland waters and lakes. 2. Nigerian coastal waters. 3. Nigerian territorial waters. 4. Nigeria's exclusive economic zone. 5. Islands, natural or artificial, within Nigerian waters, platforms, rigs, floating workshops, and other such structures. 6. Any carriage in, under, or on Nigerian waters. We shall continue to give you updates on the guidelines for the implementation of the Coastal and Inland Shipping Act on our program next week. For more information, visit www.nimasa.gov.ng.
Nigeria's Maritime Authority, Nimasa, is affiliated to the International Maritime Organization and therefore is well positioned to benefit from the IMO's wealth of experience. One area where the IMO has laid emphasis on is on the development of maritime law through its International Maritime Law Institute in Malta. Up next is a report on the institute with additional reports from our studios.
The world's oceans and the ship that ply their trade thereon were the reminders of the importance of maritime activities towards the betterment of our livelihood. Undoubtedly, the ships that navigate the globe and the able men and women who construct and crew them are living proof of human ingenuity and courage. The oceans and the uses to their output are also a metaphor of mankind's ability to harness, at least in part, its natural environment. The seas around us are as they have been since time immemorial, an important source of sustenance. Paradoxically, the expanse of the globe's seas is also, through the instrumentality of ships, a means of convergence between continents and countries. The mighty and magnificent oceans are, however, also a poignant reminder of the tragic loss of lives at sea and the irreparable damage caused through the years to the marine environment. Even towards the beginning of the past century, it was recognized that the international community required a guiding light to progress out of the dark tunnel of largely unregulated maritime activities. However, it was not before 1948 that the beacon in troubled waters was lit with the establishment of IMCO, which in 1982 became known as IMO. This momentous development later proved to be the beginning of a more structured and reasoned global approach towards an improved regulation of maritime issues. The IMO's original objective was the adoption of international legislation relating to shipping safety and the prevention of marine pollution. This objective has been largely met. Indeed, over the years, the International Maritime Organization has been instrumental in the preparation of various international conventions and other instruments, the fundamental purpose of which was the uniformity and harmonization of international regulations relating to maritime affairs. Today, one of IMO's priorities remains that of ensuring international maritime conventions and other relevant instruments are implemented on a worldwide basis. With this objective in mind, the IMO's International Maritime Law Institute, or IMLI, was established as a project of faith in the future development of international maritime law.
The IMO International Maritime Law Institute was established in 1988 through an international treaty between the Government of Malta and the International Maritime Organization of the United Nations. Its main goal is to assist governments, particularly in developing states, to implement IMO treaties and other international legal instruments. For some time, it was clear that a number of member states wished to enforce the rules adopted by IMO, but lacked the necessary human expertise to do so.
Legal training at IMLI places great emphasis on international regulations and procedures for furthering the objectives and the purposes of the IMO. In particular, states require the skills and expertise of persons trained to prepare and draft legislative instruments for the effective implementation of the international applicable standards within the domestic context. It is significant that today, graduates of the Institute occupy senior positions in their country's highest institutions. The Institute provides suitably qualified students or candidates the opportunity to undertake advanced trainings, studies and research in international maritime law. The ability of all states, particularly that of developing states, to implement international conventions and instruments adopted by the IMO and other relevant international organizations is the Institute's paramount consideration. It is recognized that all states must have an appropriate legal infrastructure for the reception of international rules of law into their domestic legal systems. Such infrastructure must also provide adequate machinery for the review, revision and modification of the applicable legislation, thereby allowing the municipal body of laws to keep abreast of international developments. For these reasons, the state as well as the related shipping industry require the services of selectively trained legal personnel having specialization in maritime law. Dimo Higi works with the legal department of Nigeria's Maritime Authority, Nimasa, and he attended the institute.
I mean, you see every day containers going back and forth. You see goods moving back and forth. It's not, they don't go in isolation of a legal framework. And of course, you will agree with me that over 90% of commerce is done by sea. So maritime law provides this specialized legal framework that governs the carriage of goods. It's not as easy as going to a port and throwing containers on the vessel, and you think that's all that needs to do.
Emeka Akabogu, a Lagos-based maritime lawyer who has participated in drafting regulations relating to IMO instruments in Nigeria, is currently undergoing a course at IMLI. This is what he has to say about IMLI.
Nations need to develop those uniform rules which will guide their operations. And the essence of the International Maritime Law Institute is to facilitate the understanding by individuals in these nations of those rules and the initiatives which found the implementation of those rules. So to that extent, I'll say the International Maritime Law Institute is very important, and it's is there to serve to develop the application and implementation of the rules which have been set out by the International Maritime Authority.
IMLI offers a master's degree program and a Doctor of Philosophy degree, as well as several professional short courses dealing with several topics ranging from marine environmental law and the law of marine insurance. The main purpose of the IMLI Master's program is the training of lawyers from developing countries to become specialists in maritime law. The course is open to law graduates from any country in the world who intend to pursue their legal career in maritime law, whether in the public or private sectors or even in academia. The Master's Law program runs for 1 academic year. The program follows a very intensive curriculum that is highly competitive. The IMLI Doctorate program in Maritime Jurisprudence is highly specialized and research-based and can only be obtained on the basis of research carried out over a period of not less than 3 years and not more than 5 years. IMLI's contributions towards the objectives of the IMO is reflected in the work of its graduates, as they in turn contribute to the implementation of international maritime standards in their respective countries.
A lot of countries, you have quite a sizable contingent of IMLI graduates working with the various maritime safety administrations. Because of course, a maritime safety administration requires legal inputs or a robust legal framework to be able to effectively ensure the implementation of the laws that a country makes.
Furthermore, IMLI, through its graduates, is also an instrument towards the progressive development of international maritime law. Therefore, in the international fora, it is not uncommon to find IMLI graduates being national delegates to IMO meetings and diplomatic conferences. It is clear that IMLI has created a unique worldwide network of maritime lawyers that is leaving its mark on the harmonization and implementation of international maritime law. In most major ports of the developing world, the international maritime community can now rely on the enterprise and expertise of an IMLI graduate.
We continue on our update this week on the guideline on the implementation and governance of the International Ship and Port Facility Security ISPS Code. Any of the above listed courses conducted without authorization from Nimasa shall be deemed illegal and unacceptable for use in the nation's maritime domain. Nimasa will not recognize certification obtained from unrecognized, unapproved, or unaccredited training providers. Foreign trained security personnel or persons who earn certificates from countries outside of Nigeria shall be required to undergo requisite indigenous training to be able to operate in the Nigerian maritime space. Nimasa shall require every security personnel working in the maritime sector to undergo requisite training and obtain certification for the jobs and duties they perform. Registered security officers, equipment/vendors, guard force companies, will be required to train their personnel in operations in the maritime sector as provided by Nimasa. Nimasa shall conduct periodic ISPS awareness training across all port facilities. The attainment of a reasonable quota or percentage per port facility will be required in consideration of any port facility. Any maritime security training conducted without the notification and approval of Nimasa shall be considered a violation of this guideline. Join us next week as we continue to update you on the ISPS code and the responsibilities of Nimasa as the designated authority in subsequent episodes of the program. For more information, visit www.nimasa.gov.ng.
Now, that is our show for this week. As always, we hope we kept you educated and informed. Now, please don't forget, Nimasa This Week is an interactive show. We want to answer your questions, listen to your comments, and even your criticisms. All you need to do is send an email to the address currently showing on your screen. Now, I'm going to be here same time, same station next week. And until then, we're wishing you smooth sailing and bon voyage.